The cold is a physical presence. He clings to the dense wool of the mammoth hides they wear and seeps into the marrow of their bones. For the clan, 3 hunters moving through the boreal forest. This is the known world. The air, sharp with the scent of pine and frozen earth, carries the familiar musk of their quarry reindeer. They move with the heavy, patient gait of their kind, broad feet pressing deep into the day minus old snow. This is the rhythm of prehistoric life, a pulse set by seasons and hunger. The lead hunter, a male whose brow ridge bears the silvery scars of a cave bear encounter, halts the group with a single, low grunt. His gaze is fixed not on the distant herd, but on the ground before him. There, disrupting the familiar story of deer and wolf tracks, is a new sign. The footprints are wrong. They are under Vingrum narrow, the stride long and impossibly light, as if the walker barely skimmed the surface of the snow. They are not the tracks of any animal he knows among the vast catalogue of Pleistocene megafauna, and they are not the tracks of his people. He crouches, his thick fingers hovering over one of the impressions. It is a sign of a different way of moving, a different body, a different mind. This landscape, a map of survival he has known since birth, suddenly contains an unknown language. This is a disquieting new chapter in hominid history. The other 2 hunters flank him, their own formidable spears held low. Their unease is a palpable scent on the wind. The hunt is forgotten. A deeper, more primal instinct takes hold, the need to understand the potential threat. They follow the tracks. The trail weaves through the ancient pines with a strange, fluid purpose, shadowing the path of the reindeer herd they had been stalking. For a people whose dominance is built on an absolute understanding of their territory, this is a profound violation. Someone else is here. Someone else is hunting their game, walking their lands with a ghost's tread. This deep understanding of the environment is one of the most critical survival skills for these early humans. They find the proof embedded in the trunk of a gnarled fir tree, a spear, or part of one. The shaft is shattered, but the point is lodged deep in the bark. The lead hunter works it free with his stone knife. He holds it in his palm, and the world shifts. It is not like the heavy, broad points they create using the meticulous Lavaluvi's technique flint cores prepared to yield a single, perfect tool. This point is impossibly slender, a sliver of chert worked with a terrifying delicacy. It is longer, narrower, and bound to its lost shaft with fine gut sinew. It was made not for a close, powerful thrust from a heavy minus-bodied hunter, but to fly through the air, to kill from a distance. The bedrock of their world has just been fractured by a single, slender piece of stone.
At last,
it is a message, a portent. They are now no longer alone. They return to the rock shelter not with meat, but with a question carved from flint. In the flickering orange light of the hearth, the lead hunter lays the slender point on a flat stone for the others to see. The clan gathers. There are no words of panic, no grand speeches. Their communication is a deeper current of shared glances, the tightening of a jaw, the low grumble that rumbles in the chests of the males. The old woman, the clan's anchor to a past stretching back through countless snows of prehistory, takes the point in her gnarled fingers. She turns it over and over, her thumb tracing the razor minus sharp, pressure minus flaked edges. Her eyes, clouded with age, hold a wisdom that recognizes the subject not as a tool, but as an omen. This is the slow, grinding engine of human evolution made manifest in stone, a terrifying new design. The days that follow bleed into weeks of gnawing hunger. The reindeer have vanished, their tracks swallowed by the ever-present trail of the others. The clan's established foraging patterns, a sacred map of survival passed down through generations, now lead only to empty snares and silent, snow-dusted clearings. They push further, into territories they rarely hunt. But the land is strangely quiet. It is as if a silent, invisible net has been cast over the entire valley, snatching the life from it. The hunters return with only the wind burning their faces, their broad shoulders slumped not just from exhaustion, but from a growing dread. This world, once theirs, is ceasing to provide. One evening, a new sign comes on the wind. It is the scent of smoke, but it is wrong. It lacks the familiar, greasy smell of their own fire, fed with pine and rendered fat. This is the dry, thin scent of different wood, and carrying on it is the faint, unsettling aroma of roasting birds. The others are not just hunting the great beasts, they are taking everything. Later, as the first stars pierce the deep purple of the twilight sky, another sound drifts from the valley below. It is not the cry of a wolf or the grunt of a boar. It is a rhythmic sound, a series of rising and falling notes, almost a melody. It is the sound of a community confident enough to make noise in the dangerous dark, for the clan, who live by the discipline of silence. This is the ultimate act of dominance, a declaration that the night no longer belongs to the predators alone. It belongs to them. The lead hunter sits by the fire, the slender point in his hand. He thinks of the distance it must have traveled. He picks up a stick, imagines it as a long, thin spear shelf. How could a hunter throw it with enough force? His powerful body is built for the close, brutal work of a thrusting spear. He cannot comprehend it. He makes a motion, a flick of the wrist, and the stick flies a few feet and clatters uselessly to the cave floor. Then, a chilling moment of insight. He pictures another stick, shorter, with a hook at the end, a lever, a tool to throw a tool, a netlet. The concept explodes in his mind, a simple, terrible piece of physics that would allow a weaker arm to kill from beyond the reach of his own spear. It is a thought that feels both alien and utterly final. The old woman watches him. She sees the dawning horror in his eyes. She looks at the hollowed cheeks of the young, at the desperation simmering behind the stoicism of the hunters. The choice becomes a cold, hard stone in her gut. She rises, her joints cracking a protest against the cold. She walks to the back of the cave, where a small pouch of reed ochre is kept, the sacred earth for their dead. She dips a finger in and draws a single, wavering line on the cave wall. It is not a story of a great hunt. It is a line that leads away, up toward the frozen mountains. There is no debate. The decision is made in the shared silence of their gaze. They will not stay to fight a foe they cannot see, who kills with weapons they cannot imagine. They will leave. They will abandon the valley of their ancestors to the silent thieves, the makers of ghost tracks and flying spears. The departure is a silent, hurried affair. There are no rituals of farewell to the cave that has sheltered generations of their kind. They simply gather what they can carry: heavy hides for warmth, dried strips of the last successful hunt, and their precious tools. Each hunter carries the heavy, perfectly balanced flint points of the Moose-Terrian industry, the physical embodiment of their identity. A technology honed over 100,000 years of ancient history. The old woman takes only the small leather pouch of reed ochre, a weightless burden that holds the gravity of their ancestors. They turn their backs on the familiar valley and begin the ascent. A slow, moving procession of ghosts leaving a world that no longer recognizes them. This is the hard truth for these ancient humans. A migration not of opportunity, but of necessity. The highlands are a brutal, unforgiving realm. The wind is a razor here, slicing across barren rock faces and through the sparse, stunted pines. The climb is a constant struggle against gravity and exhaustion. Here, the clan's deep, sated altruism becomes the sinew that holds them together. The strongest hunter, the one who first found the alien spear point, walks behind the old woman, his broad hand on her back to steady her on the treacherous squeeze slopes. When a child falters, another is there to lift them, to share a sliver of dried meat, to offer the warmth of their body against the biting cold. They move as a single organism, a collective will to survive, bound by kinship and a shared, unspoken grief. This is the core of their community, a force more powerful than any individual's strength, a legacy of all human ancestors. Days turn into a desperate blur of climbing. They see no game. The world at this altitude is a sterile landscape of stone and ice. One afternoon, they pause on a high ridge, looking back the way they came. Far below, shrouded in the blue haze of distance, lies their valley. From a break in the clouds, A sliver of sunlight illuminates a tiny patch of the forest floor, and from that patch, they see a thin, impossibly straight column of pale smoke rising into the sky. It is the smoke of the others, the Homo sapiens, a confident plume that speaks of a hearth where mine is fed, a home secured. It is a sight that cements their loss. The lead hunter turns away, his face a mask of stone. There is no going back. Their world has been inherited. They find a new shelter, a wind miner's scoured fissure in a granite cliff face. It is small, cold, and holds no memories. It is not a home, it is an endpoint. They huddle together as the sun bleeds across the horizon, painting the snow miners' capped peaks in hues of blood and fire. The hunters sit sharpening their familiar stone points. The rhythmic scraping sound a lonely defiance against the encroaching silence. They are masters of a world that is vanishing beneath their feet. They are a memory, a fading echo in the woods, walking alone. Cold path into the twilight of their kind. The last hunt is over. No, there is only the waiting. We pull back from the cold fissure in the rock. From the small clan huddled against the inevitable, we see them not as a single, sailing family, but as the final embers of a fire that warmed the earth for 300,000 years. Their story is not one of dramatic, violent conquest, but of a slow, inexorable displacement. The Neanderthals were masters of resilience, a people perfectly adapted to the glacial rhythms of the Ice Age. But the world changed. The arrival of a new human, Homo sapiens, did not necessarily bring war, but something far more potent: competition. These newcomers, with their complex social networks, their projectile weapons, and their symbolic minds, were a force of nature in their own right. They could extract more from the land, support larger populations, and adapt faster than the world could change around them. The Neanderthals' extinction was not a failure of strength, but a testament to the overwhelming success of a different kind of humanity, a humanity that became us. And so, we are left with the silence in the archaeological record, a quiet space where a parallel human story ends. In that silence, a profound question resonates as we stand now. The last human species on a planet we have utterly transformed. What parts of their legacy, their resilience, their community, their quiet fading are woven into the fabric of our own survival? The chronicle of the past is written in bone and stone, but its lessons are etched upon the soul. And yet, what of the first victories before the twilight? There was a dawn when a single, deliberate act of creation would elevate a scavenger into a hunter and change the world forever.